Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bookcraft. My name is Colleen. I am your host. I am recording this on June 14th. I do not know how we are halfway through June, but here we are. Today, I actually wanted to do a review of my first ever writers conference that I attended. So recently, I joined the Writers Guild of Alberta, and when I joined, lo and behold, there was a conference happening, and it was happening in the city I live in. So I figured this was divine intervention, and I needed to go to this conference. So I signed up for the conference right after signing up for my membership. And I'm going to just preface this whole podcast. I did not know what to expect going in. And I'm saying that because I've attended a lot of conferences in my life. When I was a dolphin trainer, I went to conferences all over the world. I mean, I was in Australia and Portugal and Hawaii and, you name it. I was there for conferences all over Europe. And so as somebody that has attended a lot of conferences in the past, I sort of have a really high bar for conferences because, if you're spending quite a bit of money to go, and this conference it was expensive, but the value was there. Okay, let's just say that. But as somebody that has attended conferences, presented at conferences, helped organize things for conferences, I had a very high bar for what I wanted from the Writers Guild of Alberta conference. So with saying that, I'm coming out of the conference. We finished last week, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised, and I'm quite happy with the outcome of the conference. I thought they had a really good mix of presenters. They had concurrent sessions, which I understand why concurrent sessions, because you have so much information you want to get in. You've only got 2 days. A lot of the marine animal trainer conferences that I went to, they were like much longer. So usually like 5 or 6 days long. So you could spread things out, not so many concurrent sessions, but I totally understand why they had to do that. I think they did a great job of having the concurrent sessions be quite diverse in the topics so that depending on the type of author that you are, for some of them, there was a clear, this is the session I'm going to go to. So I really like that. I got to meet a lot of people. I would say in total, there was a couple hundred people there. Like, if we take everybody over both of the days, the attendees, the speakers, the organizers, they had a couple vendors there. So that was really nice. The location was great because there was tons of parking, and y'all know, if you're setting up a conference and you don't have parking, you're going to have a lot of attendees that are very angry. So parking was great. It was it was easy to get to. It was where I live in Edmonton. It was on the south side of the city. I ended up just staying at my parents' place because they live on the south side. So I was able to get there very quickly in the morning instead of driving across the city from where I live. Overall, for the presentations, I had a favorite presentation, which I will talk about as I'm going to kind of give a run through of the presentations that I went to. So I definitely had a favorite presentation, but I think for every single presentation, there was a little nugget of information that I went, oh, that's new or interesting. My one, and this isn't a criticism, oh my gosh, you did bad. This is not at all, but because they had a mix of self-published independent authors and traditionally published authors, it is a challenge, of course, to have presentations that are going to appeal to those very different audiences, right? If you're traditionally published, I mean, sitting in on a session on how to run your Facebook ads or something like that, like that's not something you would do. They didn't have any sessions like that, but for me as a independently published author, I found on Sunday, half of the day was definitely more geared towards traditionally published authors, and the presentations were more for them, which was fine. I went into it and I was like, okay, well, what can I learn from this? And it was me mostly learning that this is not something I would want to do. I want to know everything. I want to have control over everything. I don't want somebody else running my stuff for me. And I actually, this was interesting because there was two gals that were doing a presentation on Sunday, both traditionally published authors, so that we know nothing about self-publishing. Don't even ask us anything. Fair. Like, I'm glad that they prefaced that, because there was I could tell there was a few people in the room that were kind of like, but, and it's like, no, we don't know anything about it. Don't ask us. But I did ask them a question because I pulled up their Amazon profiles, and I was like, this is interesting. Like, the profile isn't completely filled out. So I asked, I said, who controls your Amazon account? Like, is that you? And they're like, no, that's the publisher. And I'm like, interesting. And it's like, does the publisher not care about them as an author? Does the publisher not want to put money into them? Like, I couldn't figure it out. Like, simple things like A+ content. I was like, where's your A+ content? Like, there was things missing from their Amazon profiles that to me, I was like, huh, it's strange. Like, if the publisher is doing all this work for you, why wouldn't they do like the basics? And you can hate Amazon, like Amazon. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Unfortunately, the world we're in right now, Amazon is a big platform. It is not 100% of the market share anymore. Thank goodness. I'm a widely published author. I don't put all my eggs in the Amazon basket. I am not in Kindle Unlimited, which is their exclusive program. So as an author, when you're in that program, you can't be anywhere else, though they have just recently changed the rules where you can distribute to libraries, but I think then you have to take a lower royalty split. So by and no means am I saying be or don't be on Amazon as an author. That is 100% your decision. And there are lots of authors that swear by KU, Kindle Unlimited, and they would never do anything other than that. So if you're new here and you are a reader or an author, if you're a reader, you need to understand that when you read a book on Kindle Unlimited, the author is paid per page that you read. So you getting the book on Kindle doesn't mean that they get paid for the book. It's only the amount of pages that you actually read. And no, you cannot be like, well, I love this author, I want them to get paid more, I'm going to read the book over and over again. No, you get paid the first time that you read through the book. So that is how an author gets paid if they're on Kindle Unlimited. But the amount that they get paid per page read depends on the author, the genre, how many page reads, and what amount of money is in the big fund. So all of the people that have subscribed to the platform of Kindle Unlimited, all of that subscription money goes into a big old pot. And each month, Amazon says, okay, you had 100,000 page reads, and you get this many pennies per page. You had 1 million page reads, you get this many pennies per page. And it changes. And I've even seen, like, in my back end, when I go into my KDP account, which is my Amazon account, because I do have my books on Amazon as well. And I even see, like, day to day, the amount of money that is coming to me from page reads, purchases, etc., does fluctuate. So with all of that, let's kind of nitty gritty about the conference. So the first morning, okay, this was actually really fun. And okay, so as I said to the one gentleman there, put me in front of 5,000 people and I am flippin' happy. I mean, yes, I love it. I love it. Put me in a group of people that are kind of like my peers and I don't really know anybody and I'm weird and I'm awkward. But luckily, I walked into the first session, which was a networking session, and my friend Clayton was there. Hello, Clayton. And so that was really good. And then later on, my friend Lisa was there, and my friend Christine was there. So I felt like I had people. I had people at the conference. And then I did meet some other authors, because for the most part, the author community is so lovely. I mean, I'm going to say 99% of the author community is amazing and supportive, and the 1% is just they're terrible people, but they're going to be terrible people anyways. It doesn't matter what industry they're in, they're just going to be that way. So, but the first thing in the morning was a gal named Carissa Halton, and she did what would you call it? Like a structured networking session. And so she did it on the Saturday morning and the Sunday morning. The Saturday morning was each table, so I think there was 8 tables in the room, had a theme to the table. And so she kind of went through what all the themes of the table were. So you could move right away if you wanted to. If you were like, oh, I actually want to be over that table to start with, you could do that, or you could just stay where you were, because you were going to do 3 rotations. So out of the 8 tables, you were going to get to go to 3. So one was a table that was about social media. Do you think it's helping your business? How does it help your business? Like, it was kind of just all about, how do you think about social media and your author business? One was famous quotes by writers, and which one do you kind of relate to more? I think there was one about marketing. And so you kind of had a time limit. It was about 8 people per table. You went through the little exercise. You kind of got to meet the other people at the table, and then you switched. So I ended up just doing 2 rotations because the keynote speaker was going to be starting at 10, and there was just like 5 minutes in between the structured networking and getting to the keynote, and I wanted a good seat. I'm a back row gal. And the back row was actually tables, and I take a lot of notes, so I wanted to be in the back row. So that was really good, though. I enjoyed that. It wasn't hey, one person just talk about yourself and we'll all sit and listen. Like, everybody was talking and contributing. The social media one was very interesting because there was 2 people at the table that don't do any social media at all. And I was like, oh my gosh. So to me, I'm thinking, you've made it. Like, you have made it in your author career. You are so in tune with your customers that you don't need social media. That was not it. That was not it at all. The one was very, let's see, what's a good word? Verklempt. She was very sort of hostile and upset about social media. And I thought, oh, interesting. She has no social media at all. And I said, okay, that's like me. I'm genuinely like, that's amazing. Like, what are you doing to connect with customers? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have a website? Do you have a Substack? What do you do? And she just like laser eyeballed me and was like, I do in person. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, that's cool. How on earth does anybody know where you're gonna be at? What do you knocking on doors being like, I'm gonna be at this market next week? Like, it was strange, and good on you. If you've got customers and you're doing your author dream, good for you. But it was standoffish. And I was like, oh, okay, it's interesting. The other one didn't have social media because she didn't understand where to start, which is a completely different issue. And so we really didn't get to chat about that. By the time we kind of went around, because I was like, that's a good opportunity to maybe, do a website, do a newsletter. But here's something that I'm realizing as I am going through this author journey. Most authors don't have a website. This blows my mind. I cannot understand how you don't have a website, how you're not doing direct sales, how you're not taking advantage of leaning in more to your customers, creating more value for your customers, more connections, more ways for them to stay in touch with you. I don't understand it. Get yourself a website. There's a few people that had websites, but their websites weren't functional. There was people that had websites, but they didn't have e-commerce on the website, so they couldn't actually sell anything. And it was just kind of like a landing page. And here's the thing. Okay, so if you're an author and you get yourself a website, wherever you want to get your website, there's a lot of places to get websites. So if you're like, I don't want to pay for a website, you don't have to. Okay, there are options out there for not paying, but it's about discoverability and it's about what you want to do. And it's also, do you want to spend the time to build something that you can't grow with? You know what I mean? Like, if I build something, like if I build a Google site, I can build a Google site. It's free. But if it can't grow with me, do I want that site? I could do a free site on, you could do like a free site on BookBub. It's basically you sign up, get your author profile, and you kind of have your little free site on BookBub. You could do that too. But if you want to grow, you kind of need to pick an option that you can use, that you can add to. I have a Shopify website. I got a Shopify website before I sold a single book because I understand Shopify. As I sometimes say in my opening, I am a serial entrepreneur. I do have multiple businesses. So Shopify makes sense. People that buy these other platforms, I mean, you do you, boo. But if your platform doesn't have API keys to link yourself into things like funnel, I don't know why you would do that. It's like, well, I'm paying $10 less a month than a Shopify site. Yeah, but you can't distribute your books that are ebooks through BookFunnel, which kind of is a thing you want to do. I mean, if you are technologically savvy and you can figure out a different way to do it, fantastic. However, there are resources out there to make it very easy for you to distribute. So that was interesting. I thought that was interesting. So, not having any social media is one thing. Not knowing where to start. Yeah, I mean, it's overwhelming. Do you want to be on TikTok? Ugh. That's what I think of TikTok. I really don't like the platform. Do you want to be on Instagram? Do you want to be on Threads? Do you want to be on X? Do you want to be on Facebook? I did hear something the other day that I thought was so contentious. I was at a webinar and the girl said, only boomers are on Facebook. And I thought, first of all, you don't know anything if that's your comment. The majority of people still use Facebook. And it's not just boomers on Facebook. Like, let's change that little narrative. Yeah. Is everybody on TikTok doing silly dances? No, they're not. But also, and it was interesting too that she would say that because you cannot sell on TikTok Canada. I'm in Canada. You can't have TikTok shop. You can't sell. It's not enabled for Canada. So relying on TikTok as a sales platform, why would you? My Instagram and Facebook are directly linked to my Shopify, and I can sell through both of those platforms. Whether you like Meta or you don't like Meta, again, it's one of those things. It doesn't matter if you like it or you don't like it. Use it or don't use it. But if you want to do advertising, if you want to do Meta ads, if you want to do any of that, guess what? You're going to be doing it through your Facebook business account. You have an ad account. That's where you're doing it. So anyways, that was very long. But I think it's interesting because, when I'm looking across the board at authors, and it's not as a judgment, it's more of a, oh, that's so interesting. Like, to me, I'm building a business. This is not, it's a hobby. And if it is a hobby for you, I love that for you. And if you're like, I just want to go to a market once a year and sell a couple books and I'm happy, I love that for you. And I think there's a huge value to people not taking their hobby or something that they're passionate about and feeling like they must turn it into, gig economy, side hustle, whatever it is, right? There is value in just saying, I just want to sell a couple books. Good. I love that. I, however, am on the opposite side and I'm like, no, ma'am, I have a website and I want to sell a lot of books. So I'm learning about all these things because it is interesting. And I'm also trying to make sure that where I put my dollars makes the most sense. Okay. Now, the keynote presentation was Francine Cunningham. And she is an Indigenous author that is kind of multi-passionate. She writes a lot of different types of books, from nonfiction to fiction, and I love that. Her keynote was fantastic, and she talked sort of about her journey to become an author, what she did, which was fascinating to think about somebody that had been kind of told you can never be an author to being like, watch me, hold my iced tea, watch me. And she has become an author. She has become a trusted source. She has become somebody that I would say is a mentor towards other authors, somebody to look up to, somebody to go, wow, this path was a long path, but now look at what she gets to do. She's doing things like being keynote speaker at the conference. She talked about some of the residencies that she did and the value that those residencies gave her. If you're watching on YouTube and you're like, why are you looking down? Because I have about 100 pages of notes, because I take a lot of notes when I'm at conferences. But one of the things that I really enjoyed was she talked about when you're looking at your work, your body of work, and what you're doing, figure out where you fit. Make sure that your intention is clear. Don't be muddy about what you're doing. Well, I kind of do this and I kind of do that and I kind of do this and I kind of do that, right? You can kind of do a lot of different things, but make sure each one of those kindas makes sense. Okay. Figure out your voice. And then she talked about things like taking the breaks when you need to. You want to get your story out there, but if you need to take a break, take a break. If you need to walk away from a project and come back to it, do that. Sometimes that time of rest will create that space where you will figure something out. You will suddenly have a spark of, oh, this is how I can do this story. If you are pushing and pushing yourself as an author, and most authors would probably agree, so any of you readers out there that are like, what's inside an author's brain? There's a lot of squirrels and they're all running in all different directions. But sometimes to get that story out there, you take a step back. Maybe you watch a movie. Maybe you hear something. And it was so interesting because as she was saying this, I realized that I listened to a podcast the other day, and that podcast had this little nugget of information in there, and I went, oh my goodness, that is one of the missing pieces. That's it right there. And so she talked about that, and I thought that was really interesting. Then it came to the concurrent sessions. So, concurrent sessions, there was a lot to choose from. There was one about themes. There was one about idea to picture book. So for picture book authors, there was one about drafting. So that was for young and emerging writers. So for me, the one that I actually chose was the one called Giving Birth to People, Creating Unforgettable Characters, Part 1. And this was taught by a gentleman named Minister Faust, or Malcolm. And so he went through this workshop and he talked about characters, how you're building characters. Are your characters going through the 4 F's? So flight, fight, freeze, fawn. No character behaves the same. How are you creating characters that are memorable? How are you creating characters that have a voice? And when you have a character, how are they, moving to, not just competence about something, but excellence about something. So, and that can relate to anything. It doesn't need to just be, the character, goes and gets their PhD during the book. It could be that they've learned the skill. They start off as somebody new. Take like a book where somebody needs to learn a fighting skill, a book where somebody needs to learn to solve a mystery, right? How do they move from competence to excellence? And I thought that was interesting. So he had us do a little writing. And from Francine's keynote to this one, the squirrel brain realized I have a couple of very fun short stories that I want to develop for my characters. And so I actually wrote down probably 750 words because we had a little time to do an exercise. So I got about 750 words of a short story that I want to do because as I'm creating my series, I'm creating characters that you're going to want to continue to know, like what happened to them there? What was that past thing? I want to know more about this thing that you kind of hinted at. And so I realized I had a great opportunity in book 2, which focuses on 2 of my characters, Cece and Declan, to create some backstory for each of them. And so I ended up at the conference, I actually wrote a couple pages. I'm holding my book up if you're listening. So that was really fantastic. And I quite enjoyed that workshop. The next one that we had the choice between was, again, I love that they're very different. So you could choose one about poetry, writing, and prompts. One about, and then the second one was the second part of giving birth to people. So this Minister Faust was doing a second one. Then there was pitching an agent, not interested. And then there was another networking and just kind of sit together, write together. I went to the Canada Council for the Arts, which the keynote speaker, Francine Cunningham, also was doing this because she is a representative for the Canada Council for the Arts. More specifically, she is part of the Alberta Focus Initiative. Because one of the things that she talked about was that a lot of these grants for artists, not just writers, but artists in Canada, a lot of them go to people in Ontario. So I live in Alberta, and a lot of them go to people in Ontario. People in Ontario, it's a very different mindset in Ontario than Alberta. I'm not saying this to be mean. I have lived in Ontario as well, but Ontario is a little bit more, this sounds mean. I don't mean it to be mean. They know there's government programs and they know how to get the grants. Take it as you will. I don't mean to be mean about it. But one of the things she said was they actually started this actual Alberta initiative, and I got a little card about it, because they were finding Albertans. We are very entrepreneurial in Alberta. We love to build a business. We love to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We don't apply a lot of times for these different grants from arts councils. There's a Canadian one. There's an Alberta one. So a lot of this grant money just ends up going to people in Ontario. Like I think she said more than 50% go to Ontario residents. So she was like, please apply for these grants. I went in with there's no way I could ever get a grant. I came out going, my new job is writing grants. Because there's a lot of things that you can get stuff. So you want to go on a book tour? Great. You can get a grant. You want to do research for a book? Great. You can get a grant. And so, and even as I'm saying that, as a resident of Alberta, but somebody that has lived around the world, my brain is like, yeah, but you could just bootstrap it and work really hard and side hustle yourself into the ground and get enough money to do it yourself, right? Or you can apply for a grant. So that is my new thing that I'm going to be doing. I took a lot of notes on that presentation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Holy cow. I took like 6 pages of notes on that presentation. I thought it was well done, very focused, great information. She answered a lot of questions. So excellent presentation. And then let's see here. The last one for the day. So your choice was between world building for fiction, which is funny because my friend Lisa, hi Lisa, she thought it was word building. And so when she got there, she was like, oh, this is world building, like for fantasy sci-fi and stuff. So that was kind of funny. She stayed and enjoyed it. The other one was serving the literary ecology, which was a panel discussion with a bunch of authors. And then there was another networking session right here, right now. So another chance to get together and do some writing together. I went to Beyond the Algorithm, and this was by a lady. And I cannot pronounce her name properly without butchering it. Tita Lope? I'm going to say Tita Lope. And if I said that wrong, I'm so sorry. She is a poet, And she talked about how do you build your audience both in person and digitally. She's like, I have lots of people on my digital platform, but I'm still small compared to other creators. But she talked about, being grateful, being thankful, being authentic, uh, building trust with your readers and how to do that. And I thought it was fantastic. It was very insightful. I have a page and a half of notes on that presentation. So the next morning, Sunday morning, I went to the networking thing again, and it was different the next morning. We had the tables. It was like 8-ish tables, but each table was a different genre. So one was fiction, long fiction, so books. One was fiction, short fiction, so like short stories. One was playwriting. One was screenwriting. One was poetry. One was nonfiction. And then it was nonfiction long and nonfiction short. I went to fiction long. I ended up with a super funny group of people. We got a good giggle. We had to put into the hat questions that we kind of were pondering, thinking about, didn't know how to answer for ourselves, or like a conundrum we were in. And we had a very funny group of people, and it was really, I probably laughed the most at that table that morning, and it was fantastic to just be around other authors and kind of just go through our silly things that we, it's like, how do you not procrastinate? And everybody's like, what? There's a solution to that. So, we kind of all offered up our solutions that work sometimes. How do you know when you're done editing was another question. How do you know when it's time to actually publish your book and put it out to the world? And so it was good. It was a really great one. The keynote that morning was a gentleman named Richard Harrison. He's a poet. He talked about, let's see, the title of his presentation was Growing as a Writer Means Growing Together as Writers. And he talked about writing and why writing is awesome. And he had us actually do an exercise, so then I ended up with more pages. And it was a 5-minute writing exercise. You write without stopping, without thinking, without judging, without censoring yourself, nothing. You just write. And I've now been doing this every day since the conference. I am amazed at the difference it has made in my productivity for the day, because I've just sat and I've written. And so what I wrote for this at the conference was, I had heard the day before the name of a city, which I did not know was an actual place. And it's just this funky, weird, it's called Uranium City. And I'm writing a dystopian sci-fi. And I was like, wait a second. I could set some of the story in this wild place. I don't know anything about it. So the exercise is just right. I don't know anything about it. So I just started off, and I wrote about this place, and I basically started it with Uranium City. It was not a place anyone believed was real, but it was. And I just wrote about who lived there, what they're doing there, and that was it. And so what he said was, he has a writing group that he's been with for 20 years now, and they will do this writing exercise, and sometimes each of them will read it out, sometimes people won't read it out, but all you do when the person reads it out, you go, thank you. That's it. Thank you. No, oh, that one thing you could change, or no. Thank you. Because people, if they know they're going to be judged, they will censor what they're writing. They will try to make it perfect. They will try to edit themselves instead of just letting the ideas flow. So it's called free writing, and it can help you unpack what you're thinking about. It can help you unpack something you're puzzling through. It's a way for you to just express yourself, and you don't have to judge it. You don't have to critique it. It's the fusion of therapy and literature. And I thought that was amazing. And so I have been writing every day. I set my timer, 5 minutes. I get about a page done. And I've not been writing on anything in particular. It's just like I just start with whatever comes to my brain first, and I just write about that for 5 minutes, because it's not to curate and make perfect and be, perfectly Instagram ready. No, it's just to write something, get your brain going, get your brain working. And I have found it's been very good, because I actually got 2 full manuscript edits done this week, like manuscript read through twice. It's not done editing. Okay. If you're like, aren't you done editing yet? I'm not done editing yet, but I'm getting very, very close. And I'm going to talk about this in the next episode. I'm going to talk about how I did my edits, because I did something very cool that I'm really happy about. So this presentation was amazing. Again, wonderful. I loved it. And then the last ones for the day were, 2 more concurrent sessions. So the one you could choose from Stories from the Archive, so how to research for fiction or nonfiction. Longevity for writers, so how to be practical, make sure that you're standing, you're stretching, you're not, sitting hunched over for 6 hours just typing like a lunatic. And then there was how to get past the slush pile, so that's for traditionally published authors. And then there was diving into the biz, and this was a moderated panel discussion, and it was all traditionally published authors. There was nothing else that I wanted to go through that day. Like the longevity one, I've been listening to a lot of Becca Syme's podcasts, where she has the gentleman Roland on, and they're talking about strategies there. So I was like, I've already listened to all of the stuff from her, and her and that gentleman have a lot of really great stuff. So I was like, I don't really need to do this. So I went to diving into the biz. I will be honest, most of the time I just sat and I was writing notes for myself for a project that I was working on. So I was kind of half listening. The one thing that I did kind of nugget out of there was it's called the Librarian's Review, and it's how library workers can find your book. So I need to research more into that. I don't really know if that's something that I as an author can access, or if it's just a put forward, or what. My book is available through Libby, Hoopla, Overdrive, Cloud Library, and one other library service. So my book is available across all of those services. It's just whether or not the library orders it. So I don't know if this is to write like a blurb or a bio. I don't know. I'll research it. I'll get back to you. And then the last one was, again, another Concurrent session. So you could go to a live edit. So basically they had a panel, and each person on the panel, I think they got the same 2 pages, and then they talked through how they would edit it. So one was like a developmental editor, one was a line editor, one's a copy editor. And they kind of went through what they would look for editing something. I did not go to that. And the other one was just another networking, casual writing room. I went to the author to author one, which was 2 traditionally published authors, and it was the woes and noes of publication. And just talking about sort of the nightmare of, publisher buys your book. Most people think you get, if they give you in advance, you get the whole thing at the beginning. You don't. If you don't sell enough books, you best be giving that money back. Once they have your book, it's up to them as to when they want to publish it. They can take forever. How they market it, what they write on the blurb, what they write on the copy, how they promote, how they do the cover. Unless you're real able to advocate for yourself, you're probably not making a big difference in what they do with your book. So it was interesting. And this was, again, the one where I was like, so who controls your Amazon account? And they do not control their own Amazon accounts, which I thought was insanity. So all in all, good conference. I enjoyed myself. I got a lot out of it. Now, here's where I'm kind of on the fence. There is another writers' conference coming up. It is in Calgary. That is not too far from me. I could stay there. Be pretty cheap. It is people from all over Canada. There might be people from other parts of the world as well. It is a big conference. So I will say that. It is a big conference. The price is actually pretty good. I probably would learn a lot. I am weighing out my options right now, though. Do I go to another writers' conference because I want to learn more? I learn a lot already. Like, I spend a good majority of my day learning because I am a lifelong learner. I could go and meet other people that are in the author business. Okay. Or do I want to take the money that I would spend on that and go and start doing my research for my next book and spend the money going, or save everything and spend the money going to some bigger book events next year where I could be an author selling books, but I'd have travel expenses. I haven't decided yet. I don't have to decide right now. The tickets aren't sold out yet. So I'm going to wait on that. When I finished this conference, I was like, I think I want to go to the next conference. And now I'm like, oof, I don't know. Spending money is hard. So I don't know if any of you have that problem as well, but in any case, irregardless, gosh, I love when people say that, irregardless, let me know if you've attended a writer's conference, if you've gone to a reader event, if you are thinking about doing anything, let me know, because I always want to hear from other people that are doing these things. You know, there's some huge events in the States, and gosh, it would be nice to go to them, but then also that would require traveling to the States right now. That's kind of a no-go. Though, I mean, there's one big, huge event, and it does happen in Vegas, and I have heard that some of the hotels are taking Canadian money. Ugh, that filthy Canadian money, they're actually taking it. So, but yeah, just going there would be kind of crazy. So I'm not really sure. But I hope this little recap was helpful. So if you weren't able to make it to the conference, you got a little bit of insight into how the conference was. Writers Guild of Alberta, I think you did a good job. I think that I think at this point I would attend a conference again. It would just depend on where the next one is. Other than that, wherever you're at, however you're enjoying books, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks so much, everyone.